The last shovelware PlayStation game we looked at was Violetti Goody, a side-scrolling platformer that I think was trying to ape classic 8-bit games of the NES, and just looked like butt. It was a stiff platformer that had actual carefully designed puzzles with a decent range of mechanics, but it's soiled by rage game qualities, like how it's easy to render levels unwinnable, or the giant Pac-Man ripoff final boss that blocks your view and adds a time limit to precision jumping. In short, he's no good. But an opening card on Violetti Goody revealed that it was only one game in a full series, the Voices games, all Unity-developed projects available on the PlayStation 5. And of course, I couldn't resist the bait, and I purchased a bundle of all 8 games in the series. And when I tried the other Voices games, I made a shocking discovery. Violetti Goody is the best one! By a pretty vast margin! So let's plow through the rest of these PlayStation exclusives and nuke this rabbit hole right the hell now. I don't know if these games follow a specific order, so we'll just rank them by quality. We'll start with the best and work our way down. Best being in air quotes. Dragons in Space! Wow, just look at that artwork. This must have taken dozens of seconds to draw in Microsoft Paint. Press A to fire. Fuck! This is a 2D shooter where you control a spaceship blowing up what are ostensibly dragons and rescuing escape pods. There are 3 stars to earn per level, 1 for not taking damage, 1 for killing all the enemies, and 1 for saving all the pods. But you don't need to do any of that unless you're out for achievements, because yes, all these games have platinum trophies, because trophy hunters are easy marks. The game's as bog standard as it gets, all except for one mechanic. Each level you switch to a different weapon. Some levels you have a boomerang, some levels you have a lightsaber that circles around the ship, and some you can fire bouncing balls that can easily damage yourself. It's a neat idea, but all of the weapons suck in different ways, whether it's the boomerang taking forever to come back before you can fire again, the sword being unwieldy, or the balls being difficult to aim. And all that suckiness is their one gimmick, separating this from Action 52 level mundanity. But that's really all there is to the game, which they couldn't even code right. I died from colliding with empty air! Look! Nothing killed me! And there's a level flying through an asteroid where you can see the jagged edges where lines don't meet correctly because Microsoft Paint's straight line tool was too taxing to use correctly. And the game ends after 8 levels and about 10 minutes. You fight a big multi-headed dragon and that's it. You even have to manually close out the credits. The game was so rushed and half-assed. Ooh, a big question mark. I totally bet there's an amazing secret ending if you get all the stars. I bet it's a different piece of Microsoft Paint art. You know what? Here, have one of mine for free to sate the disappointment. So that was Space Dragons, and somehow it is all downhill from here. Lizard Lady versus the Cats, Platinum Edition. You get a cutscene of a headline saying that a cat gang has killed 1 million puppies, and not gonna lie, I'm surprised there isn't a newspaper called The Daily Outrage. Lizard Lady, a woman with textured crocodile clothes that change every single level, I guess, sets out to kill the entire cat gang via a crappy third-person shooter. You have one weapon, a handgun with unlimited bullets. You hold the left trigger to lock onto an enemy, and then the right trigger to shoot them. And your shooting never misses as long as you're locked on, so the entire game practically plays itself on autopilot. You just walk through the levels holding left, right, until all the enemies are dead and the exit opens. Can't decide if a lizard woman fighting naked cat women is somebody's fetish, or if somebody just violently despised the movie Cats. About the only interesting things that happened were my discovering that the camera phases inside you if you get anywhere near the walls, and a brief moment where I had to double check and make sure my shots weren't penetrating through solid surfaces. It's like the most basic stock third-person shooter imaginable. Like, even a pre-made asset flip like Unit Z would at least have more than one weapon. What are you doing here? The game's so half-finished that there isn't even always a gunshot sound effect when you shoot. And the killer is, the game's not even 10 minutes long. After a whole 5 levels, it just cuts off with Lizard Lady going, "What have I done?" And it says, "To be continued in Lizard Lady versus herself." You might think that's the name of the sequel. It's not. It's the name of the survival mode. Yeah, there are 3 survival mode stages where you just keep shooting people until you die. One course is a series of unwalled walkways over an endless red pit that's best easy to fall and die, and the enemies spawn too far away for you to shoot them, making this game into irritating trial and error. And the 3rd survival map is a foggy area where bullets constantly whiz in from off-screen and kill you. So this mode sucks on ice. And this mode has no ending, so apparently the story of the game is woman commits mass murder off a clickbait article and then feels kind of bad about it. Wow, it's like you almost had half a concept for a story and called it a day. Lady in a leotard with a gun. Getting a little on the nose with the names here. This is another third-person shooter, only unlike Lizard Lady, you have to actually aim at the enemies, and you have a dodge roll. You'd think that would make Lady in a leotard with a gun the superior game. It's not. For starters, there are no gunshot sound effects, and the lady's right arm keeps phasing through the inside of her body. What in the ass? Literally, what the ass? There's no story, you're just wandering through random locations, fighting anonymous enemies, and most of the levels are only a few seconds long, with like 2 bad guys, and that's it. You get achievements for completing stages without taking any hits, which sounds simple up until they start continually sending you against enemies that take about 113 hits to kill. This is your idea of difficulty, huh? Damage sponge Frankensteins. Then they huck you into a massive marathon map of underground caves where goons spawn from off-screen. Then you're in a desert fighting grenade-hucking enemies with 2 anonymous numbers floating over you. Yeah, those numbers are your health bar. It starts at 10 and then goes to so many decimal places that it displays as 2 different numbers. What the hell? And then after 10 levels, you just get dumped into this massive canyon. I shoot the enemies and then nothing. I searched this map for like 20 minutes and I couldn't find an exit. You can walk down this canyon as it just goes on and on until eventually you see a stone wall at the end of the road. I thought surely nobody would make a level this huge on purpose. This must have been like pre-built for a flying stage. But no, there's an achievement for spending 10 minutes walking all the way down to this giant duck from one of the other games. So this map was made on purpose. So the game ends by just dumping you into this weird purgatory where you can walk off the edge and fall for all eternity. So now I'm left wondering if the dev left this unfinished, or if this is some wacky-ass attempt at a creepypasta. The achievements insist this level can be beaten, but I don't know how, and I've stopped caring. Ascend shaft. The menu has a Q and what looks like an arrow. I don't know what either of these mean. Oh, that's not a Q, it's an arrow in a circle that I still don't know what it means. This is another scrolling 2D shooter, only with pixel graphics that make the Atari look advanced. I can't even tell what in the hell you're fighting. Giant moths? We have to save our space sweaters? X shoots and circle makes you boost your speed, but you steer side to side agonizingly slowly, and every single enemy that you kill fires out 4 shots in a spread fire. And you die in 1 hit, so it makes the game a massive pain in the ass to play. And then at the end of each level, you get a score. I have no idea what that percentage means because I got 100% on a level where I didn't get all the enemies. And the score is accompanied by a massive, creepy, pixelated woman face grinning at you. What the hell is that? And then after 3 levels, the girl face gets swapped out with... The game is so ugly, I can't even tell. Did Swamp Thing become a Scooby-Doo villain? I don't know.
Why is wildlife worth more than the lives of these simple-minded creatures who probably don't have a sense of self?
Okay, did any of you catch a word of what that thing just said? And then you fight a cloud boss, because why not? From here on, the levels have little golden U-shapes that fire projectiles or missiles, in addition to having to avoid enemies and their spite fires when they die. And now the game breaks my limit for how much crap I'll try to survive. I gave up on level 5, but according to the achievements, you want to guess how many levels there are? 5! Once again, this thing's maybe 10 minutes long, and that's it. Oh, but what about the different game modes? What do those icons on the main menu mean? Only as I can tell, nothing! I tried both options and they loaded up the exact same levels, played the exact same way, to the point I had to double check my footage to make sure I hadn't selected the same mode twice. I'm just going to guess that one of those was meant to be an exit button for PCs, since we all know damn well that none of this was made for the PlayStation. Newtonian Inversion! Gotta love how the game that has a music credit on the main menu starts up with a cutscene with no music. A little egg-shaped pod floats towards some random surfaces drifting in space, and an egg opens up to deploy a woman in a green spacesuit with a thick, hot pink bikini on top of it. And that's your introduction. The game is some type of puzzle setup where you cross between platforms of varying gravity. For instance, you can just jump right over to... Oh! Okay, am I ever gonna come back down? Hello? Hello? Unbelievable. The first thing I witnessed was an infinite jump to my death. The gameplay seems to just boil down to slowly trudging over these platforms looking for switches, trying to figure out the order to press them, and just making your way to the exit. It is incredibly boring and tedious. There are 16 levels. I got sick of the game around level 4, because now the game starts hiding critical switches and elements from you, which is insult to injury on how the physics are a complete joke. If you jump off a ledge, you will float off into space forever, and if you walk off a ledge, you slowly float over to the next platform, unless you ever so slightly messed up your alignment because you can't steer yourself in midair, and you just drift down a pit forever. The movement is so insanely stiff, and the mechanics leave zero room for error, that slowly trying to figure out how exactly you're supposed to hit each platform just became maddening to figure out. I don't even know how I botched up this run, but I somehow managed to flip upside down to rise down under the level. Yeah, Gravity Rush, eat your heart out. Gunducky Industries. This one's a third-person flying game, complete with a story and actual voice acting.
Contact with our forces has been lost. I presume they have all been destroyed by the robot uprising.
Apparently there's been a robot uprising. Our pilot is headed to the robot factory, and he has to fly low to get there. And the robot uprising consists of rubber duckies with guns in their mouths, giant goldfish crackers that leap out of the river, and flying robot hornets stolen directly from Dr. Eggman. I guess this robot uprising thought Skynet was a putz. Evil rubber duckies are truly the key to destroying mankind. The game doesn't seem all that bad. You steer with the left stick and you strafe with the right. It's an odd control scheme, but it doesn't take too long to get used to, even though the flight ceiling is ridiculously low to where you are perpetually bumping against an invisible wall. But it doesn't take long to notice something. This opening level goes on for a really freaking long time. This first mission is 10 minutes long, and that's if you don't die and have to reload a checkpoint. At one point, I thought the level was looping infinitely, and you had to shoot all the glowing purple enemies, since there's a big-ass counter in the corner that only goes down if you shoot something with a purple aura. But no, I guess trying to shoot all the purple enemies is just a bonus for replay value. One that's lost forever and forces you to start over if you die a single time because that counter resets. You've got to give the game credit for its first level alone being longer than several of the devs' entire games, but just when you think this game will be passable, the second level chucks you in the deep end. It's like going from a driver's test straight to the Fury Road. Now you're flying through a tight, winding canyon that lays bare that these controls are freaking garbage. You turn so slowly that you end up sliding like you're driving on ice in the sky. You have to start turning about 8 full seconds before you want to turn, and you have to counter-steer every single thing that you do. And none of this is helped by how the game is so unstable that the frame rate drops to single digits most of the times that an enemy dies. I still practiced enough to be able to get through these opening canyons, but then they cross the winding canyons with so many freaking bumblebee enemies crammed into the stage, it's like having to shoot through entire walls. That's when I reach my limit. It's freaking ridiculous the number of obstacles you have to dodge, how long you have to dodge them for, and how lousy the controls are with which to dodge them. And I'm only on the 2nd level! Screw this! We've got one more game in today's series to look at, and I know what you're thinking. How could this developer possibly crank out a game worse than all the Drek you've already seen? Well, I'll tell you. Curse your eyes on Spectre Woods. It opens with a brief cutscene of 2 women at the altar. One disappears and the other is left holding a bright red gun. And then you're left as this purple lady in a white dress walking through a forest. And that's it. You just wander around this forest with no enemies, no apparent puzzle elements, no timer, no nothing! I noticed briefly that you spawn near some flowers and more will grow if you walk over certain areas, but that only goes for a few feet, and then they do nothing. I searched for like 20 minutes and I found nothing to do. Nothing except for a way to make the character disappear when you're next to the edge of the map. And of course the game looks like utter shit. You can tell they didn't actually animate this pixely boob lady with a huge dumper by hand, because when you pull out your gun to shoot nothing, she's not even holding the gun by its handle. The middle of the gun is just like incidentally floating over the palm of her hand. They literally just took some 3D assets, added a bad pixel filter over it, and overexposed the living shit out of the jungle environment so that everything is pitch black. Oh, and they chopped off the sides of the screen for what? To make it harder to notice the invisible walls and lack of skybox? For the free darkness? To port this shit to phone so that players can be bored off their ass wasting their time on the go? What is any of this game? And why would you sell all of this on PlayStation 5? Shame is truly a lost concept on some people, and that's all I've got for you. So those were the Voices games, a series connected by absolutely nothing other than them all being complete ass. Only not because I really should have done my research before the video, not once I was mostly done with the script. I went online to check PlayStation Store listings, and it turns out The Voices games isn't the name of a series, it's the name of the developer. A developer, or maybe publisher, that has at least 8 more games on the PlayStation Store. And I say at least because some of the games we looked at today, like Ascent Shaft and Gunducky, have been released multiple times. Because the world really needed more of this. One of the company's titles is The Voices Stories, which is literally just text of some short stories that one of the main developers wrote 20 years ago. Yeah, I actually read one of those short stories for curiosity's sake. It's a story about a developer that invents generative AI to make video games, and pretty much the entire story is just this developer bellyaching that everybody but him is stupid. This game has a platinum trophy for scrolling through all 5 stories, by the way. And it still gets worse, because of this developer's absurd catalog of about 24 games, a lot of them were released just in the second half of last year. Hoodie Survivor, released November 2023, re-released July 2025. Squirk, released April 2025, re-released July the same year. Multigun, released May 2025, re-released August the same year. Plague Tricks, released October 2025. Super Hoodie Brothers, released November 2025. Neo Darlo, released December 2025. This developer is so committed to spamming the PlayStation Store that they were shitting out a new game almost every month. And yeah, these games are sold for like 50 cents a piece, That's not the point. The Voices Games Limited has about 24 games clogging up the PlayStation Store at time of recording, distracting and taking up space from developers who might have actually worked on something. And they are just one company, a drop in the ocean of indie devs and charlatans trying their luck on these platforms. So assuming I don't forget and abruptly drop the series for years on end like I did with the Dark Side of Steam, this little sub-series has miles of material.
Return safely, my love. Well, do